She was sitting on the curb, perfectly out of place, a woman with no memory of her own name. Wrapped in a coat that looked borrowed, staring at a city that flowed past her as if she were a piece of street furniture. Kevin Adams, 40, roughened by a life that gave him little more than $3 crumpled and a loyal, scruffy mutt named Buddy, had only a few hours to find food and shelter. Hunger usually pushed him forward, but Buddy's sudden alertness made him stop. Kevin crouched a few feet away, palms open and voice soft. The woman's eyes flickered in and out of clarity. She didn't smell of booze or violence, only fear and vacancy, like a room with the lights on but the furniture gone. He offered his name and Buddy's, and then water. She drank like memory might be floating on the surface of the bottle. When Kevin lifted her chin and asked for her name, she could only search her purse and her temple, fishing for a word that wouldn't come. Buddy nudged her foot, and something in her softened. Kevin draped his thin jacket over her shoulders, despite the cold that bit his own skin. "We'll figure it out," he told the dog and the woman both. The city's hum narrowed into a lower, steadier sound as people moved on. Kevin weighed options: paramedics, police, anonymity, each one expensive in ways they couldn't afford. They found refuge in a diner that sometimes slipped Kevin an extra plate. The owner cut slices and poured coffee without much fuss. The woman ate carefully, as if testing her hands against the world. A surprised laugh slipped out of her, brief and fragile, and Kevin felt something open inside him, a tiny, warm space that wasn't there before. The woman's memory returned in pieces. Hospitals and police alarmed her. She flinched at the thought of microphones and clipboards. Kevin steered them to the library, which felt safe, quiet, full of answers that don't ask questions back. A patient librarian set them up with maps, picture books, and a public computer. The woman lingered on a photo of a white, columned mansion in an architecture book, and whispered a syllable that dissolved like a fish. "Home," Kevin suggested. Her eyes filled, but she offered no more than a nod. On the library computer, Kevin began to search. Innocuous things: neighborhood maps, charity boards, foundation donors. A small monogram on the woman's notebook, AMWs, nudged him in a direction. He scanned obituaries and society pages and eventually found a name and a face that matched: Amelia M. Wetlow, a woman whose philanthropy had put her in the papers and whose fortune, according to a headline, approached 900 million. Kevin didn't show her the number. He showed her only the parts that mattered: flowers at literacy festivals, scholarship checks, a picture with lilies in the background. With every quiet detail, something in her slackened. The librarian offered a private study room. Inside that green carpeted hush, Kevin printed the article and slid it across. He asked if she wanted words, read or silence. She pointed to the paper, placed a hand over her heart, and let him read the gentlest lines. Tears hovered but did not fall. Buddy settled at their feet, the steady breathing of a dog that had managed to keep what little family Kevin had together. They left the library into a sky that had brightened just enough to be hopeful. On the street, a black SUV lingered, and then moved away. The woman's purse revealed a lipstick, a pen, a key fob, and a notebook with only one line: Lily, and the embossed initials AMW. Kevin let Buddy perform a mock investigation at the curb while he followed leads. He found an office contact for the Whitlow Foundation and, careful not to say more than he needed, left a voice message. "I found someone who needs help. Please call." Harriet Cole answered. Her voice had the calm competence of someone who builds safety behind generosity. She came alone, in sensible shoes and a steady manner that matched the photo Kevin had seen on the screen. She crouched slowly, palms open, the way you meet a skittish animal, and whispered, "Amelia." The woman didn't leap away. She didn't grasp the moment all at once, but Harriet's presence, soft and sure, seemed to anchor her. Harriet took Amelia to a physician and a quiet place where the cameras couldn't find them, and where the world's appetite for spectacle would be held at bay. Kevin watched them leave, jacket too thin for the evening chill and chest full of a strange, quiet satisfaction. Harriet promised to keep Amelia's recovery private and asked if she could contact Kevin tomorrow. When she did, it changed everything. Amelia remembered enough to know kindness. She asked for Kevin. The idea of someone who had lived on the margins being singled out by a woman who'd been in the press startled him. And yet it felt right. He brought small gifts, a smooth stone, a sketch on scrap paper, half a sandwich, and Amelia treasured them as if they were rare artifacts. She read him books and slowly let fragments of her life return, the pressure of wealth, the solace of lilies at festivals, the work she'd poured into the foundation. Buddy became the bridge between them, curling at their feet, while trust rebuilt itself in small, ordinary acts. Kevin fixed squeaky hinges and stubborn doorknobs around the modest house where Amelia recuperated. Laughter came more often, not the loud kind that dresses a life, but the rare, steady kind that says people have found one another. They all lived with a quiet fear, though the world that noticed fortunes also noticed absences. Rumors circulated in business circles that Whitlow Holdings had been weakened by its leader's disappearance. Opportunists sniffed around headlines. Harriet warned Kevin that they had to be careful. Kevin, who had learned how to be unseen, offered to watch. One rainy night he did what he always did. He stayed awake and kept watch. The black SUV returned and a man stepped out, ear pressed to a phone. Kevin whistled low. Buddy's bark scattered the intruder back to his vehicle. The SUV fled. Kevin slept on the porch that night, drenched and exhausted. Buddy curled against him like a small, loyal heater. Amelia woke him gently and thanked him. "You stayed." Kevin shrugged, uncomfortable with praise. "You'd do the same," she said, and Kevin believed her. As winter neared, Harriet asked the question everyone carefully avoided. What would happen if the world found Amelia again? Cameras, microphones, opportunists. Amelia answered simply she wanted the truth to be seen. Not a fairy tale rescue by a private jet, but the honest account of a night on the curb, a dog's bark, and a man who stayed. When she reemerged, cautious, composed, memory stitched enough to carry her forward. She did so with Kevin and Buddy at her side. Photographers clicked and reporters shuffled, expecting a polished image. Instead, Amelia told a quiet story on a public stage, how she lost herself and was found by a man with $3 crumpled and a dog who wagged like a banner. The room shifted at the unexpected honesty. Wealth, she said, meant little without compassion. She refused to let the narrative be rewritten into something colder and more marketable. After the press, when hands reached for her and congratulatory platitudes hovered, Amelia stopped Kevin as he tried to slip away from the attention. "You belong here," she whispered. "With us." Harriet nodded and Buddy barked in agreement. For Kevin, the gulf between his nights on the street and this light-drenched room felt almost impossible to cross. Yet when Amelia leaned closer and steadied her gaze on him, he understood he had never been invisible. Not to her, not to Buddy, and not to himself. Life continued in small human ways. Kevin still walked the city by day, trading his street knowledge for small jobs and returning each evening to a place where someone cared. Amelia's recovery deepened, and with it a friendship that grew out of quiet acts, shared sandwiches, reading stones found in the park. She kept her foundations work, but the tone changed. She spoke of dignity and the people who teach the rest of the world how to be human again. Threats did not entirely vanish. Some corners of the business world looked hungrily at Whitlow Holdings, but Harriet's discretion and Amelia's steadiness held. Kevin's nights of vigilance were replaced by evenings spent talking by the fire. He fixed things around the house, learned the particular rhythm of a place that was his by right of presence. He found purpose in being the person who stayed. When Amelia finally reclaimed the public eye, she did not stand alone. At her side, Kevin, the man who'd once had nothing but his dog and his integrity, stood openly, no longer a shadow at the edge of someone else's life. She told the truth that it wasn't money or power that saved her, but simple, stubborn kindness. The confession landed harder than any fortune could. People who had written her off had to reckon with what it meant to be seen. In the end, Kevin's life did not transform into some tidy fairy tale. He still had days of uncertainty and nights that tested patience. But something fundamental had shifted. He belonged to a story larger than survival. He had a place where he was expected and honored. For Buddy, life had simply improved. More full bellies, warmer nights, a house with a hearth. For Amelia, the world regained a leader who knew both the weight of wealth and the gravity of being human. Their paths had crossed by accident on a city curb, two strangers missing different things. One had lost memory, the other had lost nearly everything except loyalty. Together for a time and then for longer, they stitched a life that neither could have predicted, a quiet alliance of care, respect, and the understanding that sometimes the small, unnoticed acts are the ones that make a life worth remembering.